Wiring is not that exciting. Wiring is not that exciting. Wiring is not that exciting. You'd have to wire me up. Wiring. I got no power. What's going on, guys? We're back at the shop again, working on the MR2. We're super excited to have our buddy Connor in town. He's gonna help us out, so are you gonna finish this sucker up for us?
Yeah, I'm just gonna toss it in there myself.
All right, cool. So we're gonna take the rest of the day off, I guess.
Yep.
No, but seriously, we got a ton of work to do. We're gonna get working on getting the engine and trans back in the car, because now we got the clutch, the flywheel, and all that stuff on there. We got the LSD and the trans, so it's ready to go back in the car, hopefully for good for the first start. And then Matt, as you can see, is ready to get tangled up in some wires.
Ready to get my hands dirty in this wonderful OEM harness.
Let's do it. All right, so in the disassembly of the MR2, we twisted this clutch line a little bit, so we're just gonna cut it off and flare it and then attach the new one.
Yes.
And I brought down ankle-long socks to wear with these boots, and I wrapped them on this one.
Rookie mistake, buddy.
Run around and get it. Right around my side of town. Windows up.
That's this one. There you go, you're getting there. Nice. Great success, still flareable. All right, so we have successfully removed this super bent end. Now we need to just get a flare tool on this, or a flare nut on it first, and then a flare tool on it to flare it out. And then we'll reattach our new Toyonda clutch line. All right, so this flare nut is pretty chewed up, but we do need to flare this line and replace it. So we're gonna run to the local hardware store and see if we can't find one. Let's do it. All right, so we got in the zone, and thankfully they had what we needed. And we also picked up some new engine transmission bolts, because the ones we had were just slightly too long. We were having to throw washers on there. Not ideal. So let's get back to the shop. All right, so we are back at the shop with the correct flare nuts. I am under the MR2, if you can't tell, and we're gonna put this nut on there, flare that clutch line, and get the Toyonda clutch line on there. All right, we're getting there. All right, so we got that flared and on there, replaced. I'm gonna just file that down a little bit so we get a good seal, and she should be good as new, baby. So we got the new clutch line installed. Everything works fine, so we'll continue on. Now that we got that clutch line repaired, we are going to start stabbing this engine and transmission back into the MR2, so let's get after it. So before we put the motor in the MR2, we're trying to test fit the K20 harness to the K24, so some of this plastic sheeting from the factory doesn't need to be here anymore, so we're getting rid of that and cleaning up this harness.
I'm gonna plan on stripping that entire harness they're working on right now, so I can trace the wires like I'm doing now, because we have a Haltech ECU, so I'm gonna have to do some manual tracing to make sure I have everything routed correctly on it.
The nuts are hard to get to.
Oh yeah, they are. All right, let's get them hanging on. All right, we got our factory injectors on here on our really nice new eBay fuel rail. So we will throw this sucker on here and continue to try to get this K20 wiring harness to fit our K24.
It doesn't route correctly.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna have to do a lot of remaking.
Then, if that's the truth, start stripping it down. Here we have the heat source for the shop. I'm gonna hold this on for the rest of the day.
All right, so we have quite the wiring's rat's nest here, but we are getting through the engine harness, and Matt is getting through the main body harness over here.
I've got all but one wire identified that I need to run relays to. So once I find the cell light wire, I am at a stopping point.
Heck yeah, it's about time for lunch.
Alex's favorite time of the day. For the folks at home, I'm taking off all of this old shielding to be able to access the wires so I can get to the fuse box, figure out what we're going to reuse and what we're going to wire in new relays for so we can have power to our ECU, fuel injectors, and coil on plugs or coil thingies.
Wiring wizard earning his title.
So I just had to do the scariest thing and cut off all the plugs on the old relay box. That just means that I have to get it right from here on out because we can't really reuse these because I cut the pigtail way too short. Wish me luck, but realistically most of these are probably going to be eliminated, and I'm going to trace them back to, can't really see it, the in chassis plugs and pin them out to see what they actually are and then see which ones we're going to reuse. For the folks at home, more of peeling off old 30-year-old tape.
You're gonna add to your pile of stuff.
I wanted to throw it all on the ground so it looked like I was working. That's really just kind of showing how much I put into this harness. And here comes the daunting task. You can see I've got pinouts here, and I've got connectors there, and I'm going to trace everything back. You know what I just realized, folks? We have Awkward Biker in the house.
Oh my gosh.
Awkward Biker, ladies and gentlemen.
Negative. That is going. You don't have a bike anymore.
You know what? There is video evidence of you being Awkward Biker left and right, and I didn't realize we were in the presence of YouTube fame. YouTube
I
fame.
think 6,000 subscribers is.
You know?
Did you ever do a face reveal? I don't remember.
Oh,
I think
shoot,
that was-
I just blew your cover.
You just.
Okay, I have lost my solder. Do you see a small spool of solder anywhere?
Did you bring it over here?
You know,
All right, so when it comes to the ECU powering this vehicle, we went back and forth many times with ourselves, with our tuner, really with our budget, with everything on Haltech versus Hondata. They definitely both have their pros and their cons, but at the end of the day, we wanted to go with what we feel like is the future, which is Haltech. We really like the volumetric efficiency style of computer. We wanted to have some safeties and things like that built into our tune. From our research, it seems like that's a lot easier to do with a computer like Haltech. So we've seen a million of these cars built out there on Hondata. We know that it works just fine. But we really wanted to kind of step it up a little bit and take it what we feel like is to the next level. Also, we know that Haltech is killing the game right now, and we have plenty of other swap cars in the shop, and we know that we're probably going to be using Haltechs on some of those. So we wanted to go ahead and learn the software and the setup and try it out. So that's why we decided to go with Haltech. Though, again, we felt very confident in using a Hondata, but we wanted to go with what we felt like is the future.
and they're from Australia, which are awfully cool peoples.
Now, why'd we go with Haltech?
Because we're making heaps and heaps of power, bros. This one's done.
Matt, show the people all your hard work.
This right here is my new harness. This is the body harness for the MR2. All of this work was to get this sweet little plug on here, and I'm going to convert my work over to the relay section. This will plug straight into it, so if we have to, we can take this out of the car later. It's not hardwired in.
Hey guys, real quick, while Matt's wiring that up, do you mind liking this video and subscribing to our channel? We're working super hard. Matt got me. All right, Matt, you ready to see inside this sucker?
Yeah, I am. Warning.
Performance enhancing technology inside.
Drugs.
Damn. Hell yeah. Yep. You know what I'm looking for? The stickers!
Did Matt order the right parts? No. Did I not? Glad I checked that before we wired it, because that would have really stunk to wire those entire plugs up and realize the keyway is wrong. Jacob's gonna have a fun time editing this one.
He's gonna be like, this is the most boring footage you guys have ever given me. Yes. Sorry. You wanna just real quickly tell the camera like what you did?
Oh boy. Alright, so I spent most of the day utilizing the Hybrid Racing K-Swap series wiring kit. That consists of the main relays that we're going to need to be utilizing for this swap itself, and then wiring it up to basically kind of be a plug-and-play setup, and then taking that same methodology and wiring to the body harness on the MR2 body harness, removing a lot of the wiring, excess wiring we'll no longer be using, and then also kind of setting it up like the K-Pro setup so I have somewhere to start, and then it's the fun part, wiring in the wiring for the Haltech.
All right, guys, so we are wrapping up at the shop for today, and although it was not a super exciting day, it was a very necessary day because Matt spent a ton of time getting our new Haltech wired up.
So I got a lot of wiring done and a little bit of wiring to go, and you may not think it's that exciting, but I'm sure we all will once we turn that key for the first time.
That's going to be super exciting. I can't wait. So we're going to get cleaned up for tonight, and then we'll get back after it first thing tomorrow morning.
Catch you later. So the Haltech suggests using a GM temp sensor. I got us a whopping brand new one, $8. I'll go ahead and get this thing wired in. Wacky Wiring is back, and we are here to finalize the wiring on the Haltech to K24 MR2 swap. So right now, as you can see, I got my messy workspace slash home since, you know, I had to go to work, so took a little play toys with me so I could finalize it and get it in the shop for Saturday and do our first startup. I guess wish me luck with trying to actually put this thing together and finishing it tonight. Here we go. Alright, I've done a little research and I'm still kind of having trouble figuring out the VTEC system. We have the more advanced VTEC system, which is more like a true VTEC versus the other A8 option that isn't quite VTEC. Anyway, so we have a pressure switch, a solenoid valve, and an oil solenoid valve. And the Haltech looks like it's kind of set up to wire in the intake and exhaust cam sensor, which I've got taken care of, to drive the oil solenoid and the solenoid valve itself, but that's kind of leaving me with the VTEC pressure switch, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit more research on figuring out what Does this pressure switch truly drive, and do I need it? Stay tuned. Wacky wiring. This goes to A32. Back to the drawing board.
Matt, what's going on over here? It looks complicated.
Well, that's a really good question. That's because it is complicated. I am right now hopefully finishing up the last couple of wires on the Haltech. What I am doing is researching what all these wires belong to, and then researching where they belong in the Haltech, and then praying that it works.
Show us what we got there.
We
That little
have
black box.
Wires, plugs, and a
That's,
Haltech Elite 1500.
that's what I'm interested in. Tell me a little bit about that thing.
Well, you see, you plug, uh-oh, it's missing a hole. They took away the USB port. Well, it's got a plug for your computer so you can tune it, and a plug if you're lazy and don't want to wire in your CAN bus. And then it's got all these other inputs, outputs, and outputs, whatever those are called. And you program them with the laptop to tell you whatever sensor it is reading or controlling. And it does its voodoo magic and turns it into a fuel table, and your car goes vroom.
So we're using this because we're combining the MR2 wiring harness with the K24 wiring harness, right?
No, we're using this because we are going turbo, and we chose this as the latest and greatest in fuel management system so that we don't blow up the car immediately or have other problems with some of the outdated technology that's out there.
Well, I can't wait to...
This is Nelk.
Inside and outside, blew his house with a blue little window and a blue Corvette. And everybody around just looked like him. Let's see that. They left me alone in the shop. Right now is the first chance we get to see if I wired the ECU correctly. So I'm gonna go turn the key on, and if we have success, it's gonna power up and connect to the laptop.
We're right here waiting for devices. They're turning on the device.
All right, we have power on, nothing's smoking. That's a good first sign.
Nothing's on fire yet.
I don't think it has a light, so let's give it a second, I guess. Oh no! All right, folks. Looks like I gotta start checking some power, some ground, because it didn't connect. Dang it.
We'll figure it out.
But we kind of hot wired the powers. So you're only getting 7 volts instead of 12, which is odd. I can't exactly explain that. But they should definitely be getting 12 now.
What did you change?
I took out the pins that now I'm gonna have to figure out where they went, but I think they were to the main relays. Maybe they were triggered somewhere else based off of this, and it was clashing with the Hux Racing harness. Oh, I didn't. Yeah, so I removed these old ones, which I thought were 12 volt signals, or 12 volt key on ignition. And I basically hot wired it straight to 12 volt power to the battery. We have a green light!
It's on.
So that means that's not key on, that's just straight 12 volt power. And now let's see, it probably won't connect now, but woo!
We are connected.
Look at that. Evaluating airs. Everything should pop up as an air because we don't have an engine actually hooked up to the harness. All right,
Wow.
we're in the computer. So we've got batteries. I don't know why it says injectors on at the moment. We don't have any O2s hooked up, so that's looking right. Ignition angle. Maybe this will all change once I actually plug it into an injector. Oh, engine coolant temp sensor. Look at that. Imagine that. You know, if Jacob's up to it, we might actually wheel the motor out here, start plugging things in, and then we'll basically program the inputs and outputs where everything I've got wired and see if we can't get it to read.
Let's plug her in.
We have 14. They don't even have a sensor plugged in. How's it reading 14 degrees?
It's not that cold in the shop.
I'm happy I figured out the problem, but I'm not happy that 2 ways that I wired the power didn't supply enough power. Oh boy, it's like the same plan we've had as the last 3 weekends, which is get this thing wired up. But tonight I think we're towards the end of the wiring and more of the getting the Haltech actually programmed for the wiring that I did on this. Run some temporary fuel to the fuel rail and hook up the starter, give her some cranks, and see if she fires up.
Sounds like a good plan.
So one of the differences between the K24 and the K20 is the crank position sensor. They're extremely similar, but just slightly enough difference that we're going to have to switch over to the K24 plug since we're going to run the K24 crank position sensor. So I've got that on my task list to do before we can get to the next step. Wish me luck.
Good luck.
Thank you. Good luck with your career. We don't have anything hooked up for fuel, so what we want to do is it's obviously set up for something other than the K24 that we're operating. So it's getting information in the wrong sensor inputs. So let's see if we can load a base map for K24. I think DC5 is what we're looking for. There's a K20Z, Z. Now that we have a K20 base map loaded, let's modify it to a K24. I want to start the wizard. We're using a GM intake air tube. So we're going to load from file, GM air sensor. Okay, there we go. We got the GM air temp sensor in there. What I'm looking for is there's basically a drop down here to assign the pin, and I don't see it yet. What you doing over here with this laptop?
I am assigning the wires to where they are plugged into the Haltech over there so that we can make sure everything is doing exactly what we want it to do.
Oh yeah.
We're setting up the throttle right now.
So which TPS is this?
That's TPS2.
What did we assign it to?
That went to A17.
All right. How many more do we have to go?
2 more for the throttle, lots more on the harness.
And then after we do the throttle, we're going to do the pedal, and then we're going to see if we can actually get the pedal to move, or the throttle to move.
We're going to see if we're going to change any values by stepping down on that pedal that we stole out of ACRD in the junkyard.
Let's go!
Then app 2.
I have B20.
Okay, we're all assigned.
So now let's see if we can calibrate this. It made a noise.
Okay, so we are trying to calibrate this throttle body, drive-by-wire throttle body. We think it's a little bit stuck. We pulled the throttle body off the intake manifold, and good thing we did because we found a literal rat's nest. So wouldn't have wanted to. Woo!
It works?
There we go.
Can you believe it wasn't my wiring? It was a rat's nest.
I can believe it wasn't your wiring.
So it's running. It went past step 1 on the calibration. We're in step 2 regression. Step 2 passed. Step 3 is verify, baby. And then we got to take the intake off and clean it now.
So it was just that nest blocking the blade.
Can you believe that?
This blade was extremely stuck and gunked in there.
It just
Free all of it and then broke it free with my hands.
It was just from not, running for 35 years and then gunked up, and it took some good old-fashioned finger power.
So would it work with the pedal now?
Realistically, it should, yeah. Let's make sure it passed. Calibration good.
Nice.
Oh! Oh! Shoot me!
Woo! We're starting it tonight. Like, it's gonna run. All right, that is fucking awesome. I mean, shoot darn awesome. Oh, that is amazing.
Anytime you buy a new intake, you always want to remove the packing material from it.
See, she's good. I'm rigging up some temporary fuel line because our engine's not in the engine bay.
Oops. Wrong hole. Trying to get the fuel pump to work. So, fuel pump has power, and the relay has power, and I just jumped ground to it, and it should have kicked on. We're gonna run straight power to the fuel pump, and it should kick on. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Squirting fuel.
Good. So it's a relay issue. Wait. No, wait. We're good. Power here. We have 1. Maybe that's why. The things that you're not supposed to have to do when you buy harnesses that are made for this. We're going to temporarily jump the switch side. So a relay works with having dedicated power and dedicated ground, and a switch, either power or ground, and one of them needs to be constant and one of them needs to be switched for the relay to work. If you have them both constant, that just kind of defeats the purpose. Okay, found the problem. However, why is the Haltech priming fuel the entire time? Unless this is, no, that's not the trigger. This is the trigger. That doesn't have to stop us from test firing it. It's just odd. Here we go, good luck. That's not a good test. Well, it was working earlier, why isn't it working now? What? There it goes.
Yeah.
Why did it?
It worked for a second, but now it stopped again. What'd you do, Jake?
I just touched the key.
There you go.
It's working.
Yep. Yeah, we're leaking like a sieve. Now stop. Yeah, it's leaking up on the rail now. There's just like,
Damn. How much PSI did we make?
I couldn't tell.
I didn't look at it either.
Chooch it. Oh! We hit 45 PSI.
Yeah.
I got a little gas in my eyeball though, so I will
shut
be
up.
right back. I will watch the gauge.
I don't understand sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but then Jake wiggles the fuel key.
58 PSI strong.
It is
All right,
leaking.
take her off. Yep,
Is that the gauge that's leaking? Crank it.
Forward.
Crank it.
That's key forward.
Oh, we didn't put, we gotta get
Starter wire.
Yeah. So.
Crank it. It is reading RPM.
You ready?
Yep.
We are leaking fuel. She almost came to life.
Yeah, dude, she very almost came to life.
You know what we didn't change, Jake?
What?
The fuel parameters.
Base fuel pressure right there.
The good news is the K series engine is about the cheapest part of this. So.
Mass amount of fuel leaking. Let's do one more thing, but I want you to crack the throttle. Maybe there's something not doing any throttle control.
Jesus
okay?
Christ!
You
That
alright?
scared
good?
the fuck out of me. Yeah, I'm good. That hit me right. I literally looked at it, and it just fireball to the face.
Backfired? Why did it backfire?
Ready?
Yep. First start, baby. Let's go.
It was a time set to 311 and fire it up.
Yep.
10.
So we messed around with the K24 for a while. We could not get it to fire. Turned out all it was I had to get into the Haltech and set the top dead center angle correctly. It was at 70 degrees before. It had to be set to around 310. Fired right up. So super old gas. Let's get this fucker in the car.
Rev it up on the stand.
No, there's fuel all over the place.
Good job.
Thanks.
What was the issue?
Had to set the top dead center angle. You really did just need me to get in the Haltech and start playing around with it.
Now can we worry about the real problem now?
Nobody gives a shit about your lug nuts. I'm sorry, I'm pretty hyped right now.
And you should be. All right, so wonderful news. We just got the engine fired up for the first time, and we think the next steps are to go ahead and take out the wiring harness that I butchered to get it to run, put the engine in the car. I'll take the wiring harness back to my workshop and clean it up a little bit, get it to a more pleasing state. It's kind of got a couple of here's and there's that I've temporarily wired in to get it to fire. And then once I take it back, rework it into a prettier state, we'll put it back in the car, and then we're gonna see if this thing moves. Yeah, but there's a puddle of gas it's sitting in.
So? Well, it didn't catch on fire when that fireball came out of it earlier.
There's a puddle of gas on there.
I see that.
After a lot of messing around, everyone thinking my wiring was bad, the wizard came through. The wizard made some magic happen. Some fireballs happen.
The wizard kept me out of handcuffs.
We are taking this wiring harness off of here.
It seems like it's backwards work, but it's actually forward.
We're making forward progress. Let's do this thing.
Dude, we got it fired up.
I'm fired up about it.
We got it fired up. This, first swap we're doing in the shop, fired up. I won't say flawlessly. We had a little learning curve with the new Haltech, but that's just part of getting a new ECU in there, a new system to learn. After we kind of figured out a couple steps, key on, first turnover, fired right up.
Are we really doing that?
We've been doing it. I know what I'm doing.
Something like that. There's only so many combinations you could have tried.
It's all, listen, this is all 12-volt system.
I'm just playing with you, buddy.
And
I'd be lost in this rat's nest if it weren't for you, Matt.